Unfortunately, the San Francisco 49ers could not keep longtime 49er Eric Armstead on the roster coming into the season. They also lost other folks like Chase Young, notable name there at least. But fear not, because the 49ers have a plan. And Bradley Locker from PFF picked his biggest breakout player from the 49ers. And I'm just going to tell you, it's probably not who you think. If you're new here, I'm Nate, born and raised in California, now transplanted to Broncos country, and this is my chance to talk to all the 49ers fans back home. I'm covering all things San Francisco 49ers, and it really does help me out if you would consider hitting that subscribe button. Well, today's comment of the day, let me know, comment below how you're feeling about the media fallout coming from the schedule release for the 49ers yesterday. The media fallout today has been wild. There's been tons of storylines, and I'm interested. I'll give you three options. Tell me, are you feeling optimistic? Are you feeling pessimistic? Or are you feeling mixed? I'll be honest with you, when I first saw it, I had children running above me. I had some pessimistic in me for sure, but I also had some optimistic, and so I felt like I'm on the edge here. And then at times I felt mixed, and at times I felt optimistic. Currently, right now, I'm feeling optimistic, and that's because of a lot of things I've been listening to and reading about lately. So I'll get to that more later in the video. If you're interested, stick around for that. But the reason you click the video is to find out who this unexpected breakout player is from Pro Football Focus's own Bradley Locker. It's not the guy in this picture. Sorry, not the guy in this picture. The guy that they picked is this guy. Drake Jackson is the breakout player of the year, according to PFF's Bradley Locker. I want to get back to that, but first let's talk about what it means to be a breakout player, because as much as I don't want to nerd out too hard on philosophy, I did have to think this through, because I was like, this is not my pick, so it was a surprise to me. But the more I understand what he means by breakout player, the more I understand, okay, that makes sense. So breakout player being every year someone who comes out of nowhere to produce at a high level, excluding obvious household names, and he picked one for each team in the NFC. So Drake Jackson is Bradley Locker's pick to come out of nowhere and produce at a high level. He's got a lot of really good points to make here. And I'll just read what he had to say. Let me just do the fast thing by clicking SF. Here we go. Drake Jackson. Very quietly, the 49ers experienced some significant losses along their defensive front, namely Eric Armstead, Chase Young, Kinlaw, Farrell. While veteran Leonard Floyd will probably get the opening nod at edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa, which I agree with 1,000%. We'll talk about that too. Depth will be relied upon behind both. He was relatively productive when he did play, notching 14 pressures and on only 199 snaps. If not limited by a knee injury in week 9, we'll talk about that too, by the way, he could have been a greater pass rushing force en route to Super Bowl 57. Expect him to bounce back in 2024. I love this pick. It was not where my head was going, but I love it, and I'll tell you why. But first, the people that we picked up that are mentioned here that we never really talked about, one would be Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd, of course, he was drafted 9th overall to the Bears. Also played for the Bills most recently, but he played for the Rams, and you'll remember that because in 2021, despite the fact that we beat them in the regular season twice, Leonard Floyd and the Rams beat us in the NFC Championship game and went on to win the Super Bowl. And that was when they had Aaron Donald and Von Miller. They had some big name guys, and they were high production. I want to say he ended the season. Oh, stats. It's right here in front of me. He ended the season that year with 70 tackles, 9.5 sacks. And he had multiple seasons like that, but 2021 was his breakout season for sure. This guy's a stud. I'm stoked about this pickup. This is a huge pickup. I wasn't doing this channel when this happened, so I didn't get to talk about it at the time. I'm stoked to talk about it now because, my goodness, this guy's a big pickup. And I'm feeling really positive about what's going to happen. An 8-year veteran here. The other guy, and I do believe, by the way, he is your starting edge across from Nick Bosa. That's like guaranteed in my mind. But this guy's going to have something to say about it. He also has had his share of moments, not nearly as decorated as you can see, but as a depth guy, I would take 4.5 sacks as a depth guy. If he can produce that, I would take that. Carolina Panthers were awful, but we've taken Carolina Panthers players before, and they've turned into greats. I know that's Christian McCaffrey's a little bit unfair of a comparison there. But yes, former second round pick. He's probably a depth guy, but I still like the pickup. We need those guys for sure. Drake Jackson, also a depth guy, but this guy's the pick to be the breakout player of the year, according to Bradley Locker. And I love this pick. I'm a big fan. So he was having an improved season last year. As his sophomore season, he was having an improved season before he got injured. So had he not gotten injured, maybe you think that number's a double. That would be pretty cool. And I can see why this is a pretty smart pick to say this is the breakout player because of the trajectory he was on. That being said, when you're sitting behind two studs on the defensive line and that's who you're going up against, having a guy that's stout like this is going to massively help if he can produce. So if Bradley Locker's right, and I'm hoping he is, this is a huge opportunity. Edge is such a fun position because it's the type of position, one, that when you're on defense, you're watching linebackers, you're watching corners, you're watching safeties when the ball's in the air. But when the ball is in the quarterback's hands, you're watching edge rushers. Like those are the guys that you're really excited about a lot of times. All of the defensive tackles in some way. But what I love about this particular setup, if you have a stud in Leonard Floyd and you have Nick Bosa, and then when those guys are subbing out and getting rest, you have stud guys who are backing them up. That's what's so fun about edge rushing, because then you have this constant pressure on the offensive line. They never get a rest, and you get way more sacks. And one leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. So it's better for everybody if these guys do well. It's not like a starting quarterback worried about the backup quarterback taking his job. It's better for everybody. Bosa benefits, Floyd benefits, everybody benefits if Drake Jackson is great. So I'm hoping that's going to be fair. I told you before the end of this video, I would tell you why I'm feeling optimistic about the schedule. So I wanted to end with that. I was listening to podcasts today, watching videos, reading articles, and hearing guys like Eric Crocker saying 13-4, hearing guys like Richard Sherman saying we are the best team in the league in terms of chances to win the Super Bowl. Richard Sherman's, he's a controversial figure, whatever. I still love the pick. I still love the perspective. And I love that. And this way, I don't think he's doing the controversial thing that he sometimes does. So I'm a big fan of that. I love that. Seeing reports about us being odds on for every single game of the season. Love that. Obviously, you have to assume we're going to lose some games, but man, when Vegas is picking you to win every single game, one-offs, right? In one-off scenarios, winning every single game, that is a good situation. I'm not going to complain about. And knowing that finally, and most importantly, if you're in everyone else's front office looking at the schedule and you see 49ers week blank, whatever that week is, that's the game that you're circling. You're like, oh, okay. That's our tester. If we can beat them, we can do anything, right? So that's the team on the roster, and the Kansas City Chiefs, to be fair. But 49ers had a much better season all around, I think, last year than Kansas City did. And I think a lot of people see the Super Bowl as it should have been San Francisco. Most people say that. So if that's the case, then yeah, you're circling that SF game on your schedule, and you're just saying, this is the one. And that's not great in terms of, you don't want to be going up against guys who are all seeing you as the guy and their chip on their shoulder when they face you. That is hard for sure. But when everyone's afraid of you, that's a good thing. And I'm really excited to see how this season plays out. And I'll be carrying you through all of it. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the action and all of the conversation. And let me know in the comments if you want me to do more polls and questions and things like that, because I'd be happy to do those types of things and continue that conversation throughout the day. As always, I'm feeling wildly optimistic today. And I often do feel pretty optimistic. But man, this is a really fun time to be a 49ers fan, and things might look very different next season. So as always, I'm going to end this show saying, what a time to be alive.